After a game or series that started about as well as a series can start, the Dodgers dropped the series to the Rangers with a second straight poor offensive showing. We will dig into it here on the Locked On Dodgers postcast.
You are Locked On Dodgers postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, welcome to the Locked On Dodgers postcast. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a happy one. Dodgers dropped the game to the Rangers 3-1 to drop the series after scoring 15 runs in the first game of the series. They scored 3 runs in the last 2 games combined. It was basically 2 games that should have been winnable because the Dodgers pitching only allowed 3 runs in each of the last 2 games. Those are games that the Dodgers should win. Felt a little bit like last year's NLDS when the pitching only allowed 4 runs in each of the last 2 games of that series against the D-backs. But unfortunately, the offense only scored 2 runs in each of those games. So, yeah, even though, last fall, nobody would confuse Lance Lynn's start with a good start, the fact is the D-backs only scored 4 runs that game, just the 4 solo homers that Lance Lynn allowed in that inning. And that should have been enough for the Dodgers offense to win. It wasn't. It was the same boat here. The difference is this is June. That was October. And if there's one thing we've learned over the years the hard way, it's that how the Dodgers hit in June has very little bearing on how they will hit in October. This year, that's a good thing. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast. I am Jeff Snyder. I'm filling in for Pete Fox. This is my last game filling in, at least for now. I'm sure I'll fill in for him at other times, but for this trip, this is it for me. So it's been fun being with you guys. Today's episode is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. It was a rough game. We're going to talk first that basically the story of the game here, the moment of the game was when the Dodgers in the bottom of the 8th inning got runners on first and third. Kevin Biggio got hit by a pitch, as Biggios do, and Austin Barnes got a base hit, as Barnes hardly ever do. And so it's first and third, nobody out with the top of the order coming up. David Robertson was on the mound, and in yesterday's game, David Robertson struck out the side of Mookie, Shohei, and Freddie. And the first time all season that any pitcher had struck out those 3 guys in the same inning. And then David Robertson did it a second time. Struck out Mookie and Shohei each on 3 pitches, and then Freddie put up a fight, but ended up striking out as well to get out of that inning when, if they can even get 1 run in, if one of those guys, if Mookie or Shohei can get a sacrifice fly to get the run in, so it's a 1-run game in the 9th inning. That 9th inning plays out differently when the Dodgers had a runner on second with 1 out. There's a lot of things that could have gone differently if they could have got it done. And that was frustrating for sure. As Dodger fans, that was frustrating. I'm not going to call out anybody individually. I saw this from a couple people, but one person in particular who I don't want to call out by name because I like him. I know him on Twitter. We've met in real life. He's a good guy, but it's the kind of tweet that drives me crazy. He said, the Dodgers seem bored sometimes, especially the rich guys. And I just think that's such a lazy take. Like, I promise you, Mookie Betts wanted to get a hit more than any one of us wanted Mookie Betts to get a hit in that situation. Mookie wanted to at least get the run in. Shohei wanted to get the run in. He wanted to do it right. There was no boredom there. And I feel like it's so easy as fans to look at what we can see. And I don't know if it's projecting or what. I honestly don't understand it. I think it's probably just fandom frustration and saying stupid things. But that's basically what it is. It's just crazy to think that we as fans want it more than the players do. I promise you, players always want to win more than we want them to win. It's their livelihood. And yeah, they are already rich. Guess what? They're also playing for a championship. There's no feeling like winning a World Series. Mookie Betts has felt it twice. Shohei Ohtani has never felt it. They both want to feel it for different reasons. Freddie Freeman's felt it once. Like, there, very few things I've done in my life, especially 0 things I've done in my professional life, have ever felt as good as winning a World Series. That, I've done things in my personal life. I suspect that when my children were born, I was even happier than Mookie was when he won a World Series. But very few things in a professional life can compare to winning the World Series. And as happy as we were in 2020 when the Dodgers won the World Series, Dodgers players were happier. They want it even more than we do. And so, yes, it's frustrating when the big three can't get it done, especially in that fashion. But I mean, David Robertson, he's a good pitcher and apparently has their numbers, at least currently. Like I've said many times, the pitcher wins sometimes. It sucks that there's no explanation for it, but the fact is the pitcher wins sometimes. And, maybe the Dodgers just need to trade for David Robertson so he can't strike them out anymore, although they won't play him again this year unless he gets traded to somebody else. But overall in this game, the Dodgers only had 5 hits? A total of 5 hits and 2 walks and 1 hit batter. So 8 base runners the whole game. It's just not good. It's not enough to win a game. And it wasn't, they got 1 run on an Andy Pages home run. And other than that, they hardly threatened. They did threaten in the 8th inning. And then again, they had a runner in scoring position with nobody out, or with 1 out in the 9th inning. It looked like they might have 2 guys on again with nobody out because Andy Pages worked a 3-1 count. He ended up striking out against Kirby Yates. And then Jason Hayward put up a good fight and struck out. And then Will Smith struck out. So, the Dodgers only had 2 strikeouts in the game coming into the 8th inning. And they ended up with 8 because they got Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, Pages, Hayward, and Smith all struck out in the 8th and 9th innings. And, obviously strikeouts are frustrating. It's not even something, because Mookie doesn't strike out a lot. Shohei has had phases, but he doesn't strike out a lot when he's on. Freddie doesn't strike out a ton. Andy Pages striking out isn't super surprising. Will Smith striking out, a little bit surprising. Jason Hayward, not overly surprising, but it's not like these are strikeout hitters. It's not like the Dodgers, when the top of the order was coming up, none of us thought, oh, great, nothing's going to happen because it's just Mookie, Shohei, and Freddie. Those guys can hit. They've hit all season. They just didn't tonight. And now 2 nights in a row against David Robertson. But, all in all, I think it's, I guess that's my main take of this first segment, is that it's a lazy take to jump straight to, they didn't want it. They were bored. And I think that what happened was they tried their best and they didn't get it done. And in a sport where, getting on base 40% of the time is elite, guess what? That means 60% of the time you're getting out. And sometimes when you have 3 really good hitters in a row who have a 60% chance of getting out, sometimes they're all going to get out in a row. It happens. So, it sucks. Time to move on from that game. Hopefully the offense can wake up against the Royals, come into town, and then they get to go to Colorado. So there is a chance that this offense can still break out. We were all hopeful after, 10 or 11 runs in the game against the Yankees and then 15 runs in the game against the Rangers. Okay, maybe this is showing signs, and there are still signs. Freddie is hitting better. Shohei is hitting better. Mookie still needs to wake up, and a lot of it is just kind of, tonight was different than last night. Last night they had plenty of base runners. They just couldn't get the job done. Tonight it was just they just didn't hit much. And those games happen, and unfortunately there's not that much to do about it other than, hey, we get to play again tomorrow. So I'm going to come back in a minute. I'm going to talk about the pitching in this game that had its ups and downs. The first 2 pitchers didn't pitch well. The rest of the pitchers did, but unfortunately the damage was done when the offense didn't show up. So I'm going to come back and talk about that. So thank you for being here with me on the Locked On Dodgers postcast, and I will be right back. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. With PrizePicks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB in the PrizePicks app for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. This episode is also brought to you by Policygenius. Do you have people counting on you financially? If so, you know that life insurance is super important to protect your loved ones in case something were to happen to you. But finding the right life insurance policy can be time-consuming and overwhelming. That's where Policygenius comes in. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace and saves you time and money so you can provide your family a financial safety net starting today. Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. Back when I got my first life insurance policy, it was because my wife's cousin showed up on our doorstep pretending he just wanted to see us and then pressuring us into buying a life insurance policy from him. Years later, we wised up and got help from an actual expert and got a much better policy that met our needs better. I wish Policygenius had been around back then to save me time and money on that process. So if you don't have life insurance, it's time to get some. And if you do, it's still worth checking to make sure you have the right coverage. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. I am back. Thank you for being with me here on the Locked On Dodgers postcast. Again, I am Jeff Snyder, guest hosting for Pete Fox. I am normally the host of the Locked On Dodgers podcast over on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel. This postcast is on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, and both the postcast and the podcast are available on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. Tonight, it will just be Vince over on the podcast pretty shortly after I am done here. Vince was at the game tonight, and so he's traveling home, but then he will be going solo on the podcast after this, and I will be taking an early night rather than doing double duty after doing double duty solo last night. So that's what you can expect here. Check out Locked On Dodgers over on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel as soon as I'm done here. So the pitching in this game was mostly good, but unfortunately the part that wasn't good, and even like Michael Grove, 1 inning, 2 runs allowed. He allowed 3 hits. And then Ryan Yarbrough allowed 6 base runners in 3 innings. Luckily, only 1 run. He got out of some trouble. But all in all, the Dodgers are down 3-0 after the second inning, the third inning. They were down 3-0, and the offense never did come back. And again, that's mostly on the offense. But Michael Grove has been very good as a reliever this year. And the 2 times he's been an opener on a bullpen game, he's been lousy, just like he used to be lousy as a starter. And I'm wondering if maybe he needs to not start a game anymore. You would think that knowing he was only going 1 inning, that he would be able to treat it like a relief outing. But it seems like maybe he treats it like a start, even though he knows he's only going 1 inning, and maybe it's subconscious. But this was a rough outing for Grove. He didn't get any strikeouts, hardly got any swing and miss. And there were bloop hits all over the place. The Rangers had 7 hits. The second farthest went 181 feet. They had 1 ball hit over 200 feet, 1 hit over 200 feet this year. They had a couple flyouts and went farther, but their hits were bloopers and bleeders. But that's why you need strikeouts sometimes. And Michael Grove didn't get any strikeouts. Ryan Yarbrough got 3 strikeouts, which is more than you would expect from Ryan Yarbrough in 3 innings, but that's because he faced a ton of hitters. Batters faced Yarbrough, 14. So 3 out of 14. Yeah, that's about the ratio we would expect on strikeouts from Yarbrough, because he was allowing so many base runners, and it could have been worse. They got at least 1 double play when he was in the game, maybe 2. Plus a caught stealing. Austin Barnes actually threw a guy out stealing. So he was bailed out. There was 1 inning that Yarbrough walked 3 guys and allowed 2 hits and somehow only gave up 1 run because of the caught stealing at third base. So it was a rough game. And the problem or the challenge of a bullpen game is always you're counting on 6 or 7 guys to all be on. And in this game, it was two guys who weren't on, and unfortunately, it was the first two guys. And I don't know if it's any better or worse, but being in that hole, it does change the game a little bit. And so everybody else after that was really, really good. Johan Ramirez, two innings, only 2 base runners allowed. Blake Trinan, 1 inning, allowed a bloop hit, but struck out 2 guys. Alex Vesia, a perfect inning. Evan Phillips, 1 inning, just 1 walk allowed. And so the bullpen guys, you've got Grove, who's the opener, and Yarbrough, who's the bolt guy. But after that, the bullpen guys, the regular bullpen guys, pitch great. And again, you would hope the offense would pick it up, because 3 runs allowed should be enough for this offense to win a game. But also, you would like to, in a bullpen game, at least get that first inning out of the way. When you're already down by multiple runs before you even get to bat as a team, it does change things a little bit. Michael Lorenzen, it was interesting because, like I said, he didn't strike guys. He only had 2 strikeouts in 7 innings, but he also only allowed 5 base runners in 7 innings, 4 hits and a walk. I said yesterday, I thought that Lorenzen was the kind of guy who the Dodgers would get to, because in general, guys who don't strike out a lot of guys don't do very well against the Dodgers, because Dodgers make them come into the zone, make them throw their pitches, and they make them pay. But Lorenzen, for some reason, was able to get it done. And I don't know if it was just an off night for the offense, because we've seen this. They did it to the guy, Austin Gomber, on the Rockies. They did it to the guy on left-handed pitcher. Why can't I remember the guy's name? The guy I talked about when Clint co-hosted Locked On Dodgers with me. Wow, I can't remember this other guy's name. Guy who used to be on the Phillies, throws left-handed, and now is on the I've lost it. Anyway, another left-handed pitcher who doesn't strike guys out, and the Dodgers made him pay. And so maybe lefties who don't strike guys out, the Dodgers are better against. I don't know. But in the end, they didn't get to Lorenzen like I thought they would. Lorenzen has had a really good season, despite his numbers, his underlying numbers saying he shouldn't be having a good season. But all he gave up was the home run to Paez. And, David Robertson, when you get Kevin Biggio and Austin Barnes on to start an inning, you got to capitalize on that. So, while yes, the pitching was yes, thank you, Cameron. Bailey Falter. I can't even remember what team he's on now. I know it's like, I don't know, all these games run together in my mind. I don't remember who the Dodgers played right before they played the Yankees. But I assume that's what team Falter is on. Anyway, maybe Cameron will come through with that too. Tell me what team Falter's on. But yeah, it was a frustrating game. Pirates, that's right. Thank you, Cameron. You are the best. It was a frustrating game as a Dodger fan, obviously. And you know what? We'll come back in a minute. We will talk more about this game. We will look forward a little bit to the Royals series. We will see what you guys want to talk about in the comments. Shoot your comments in while I'm reading this next ad, and we'll dig into them when I come back. So stick with the postcast, will you? This episode is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Dodgers, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals at tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. If you're an independent contractor like I am, your taxes are a little bit more complicated than somebody who just gets a W-2. So you may need some tax experts like the ones they have at Tax Network USA. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in the episode description below. Hey, I'm back. Thanks again for being with me here on the Locked On Dodgers postcast. Again, I am Jeff Snyder, filling in for Pete Fox the past week or so Tonight is my last night. Pete will be back soon. I'm not sure if he's back for this Royals series or if there's just not going to be postcasts for this series, but I'm sure I'll be around. And of course, I am always, or almost always, on the Locked On Dodgers podcast, which is usually live right after the postcast ends. But we're just 5 days a week on the podcast. So our next one, like I said, Vince will be doing the podcast by himself tonight, live shortly after I'm done here. He's traveling home from Dodger Stadium right now, and then we will be off for the weekend. So our next one will be Sunday night after the series finale with the Royals, before the Dodgers head to Colorado. We will be live then for Monday's episode. So anyway, we enjoy talking Dodgers with you, even when it's frustrating, even when they lose like this. William says quite disappointing tonight. Yep, it's disappointing. I'm not going to tell you guys how to fan. One of my biggest beliefs is that people should be able to be fans however they want. I know I lectured people for saying the players look bored in the first segment. If that's what you want to say, that's fine too. I just think you're wrong. But I did see some other people saying it's embarrassing. I would encourage you to consider not allowing yourself to be embarrassed by the way strangers play baseball. That has made me much happier in my life. Like, I'm a Dodger fan. I love the Dodgers. You know how when you hear your name and you think, hey, that's me. I have that same feeling when I hear the word Dodgers. I hear the word Dodgers. I think, hey, that's me, even though it's not. But that's how much I love the Dodgers. And yet I have never been embarrassed by the way they play baseball because it's not me. It doesn't affect me. If it was, and like, even when my kids play poorly, I'm not embarrassed by it. And that's something that it's actually my name on the back of their jersey. You know what? It's baseball. And it's supposed to be entertaining. And like I said yesterday, even the best teams lose about 60 games a year. And this is 2 of them. And hopefully, Cameron Coy, this is a good question. We'll dig into this. How long do you think we will continue to keep Austin Barnes on the roster? Is one thing when he could play good defense, but now he can't throw runners out. Yeah, even when he used to play good defense, he could never throw runners out. He was very good at framing, and that was where his defense came. Obviously, handling a pitching staff, all that stuff, the intangibles he's had. But yeah, Austin Barnes is a bad baseball player. I actually snarkily texted Vince in the top of the 9th inning when Austin Barnes got his second caught stealing of the game. This one was on a technicality because the batter interfered on strike 3 as Barnes was going to throw it. So they got the strike him out, throw him out, double play on that. And Barnes' hand hit the batter's helmet. And I told Vince, I said, wow, a caught stealing and a possible Austin Barnes injury. This could be a win-win. Obviously I don't actually wish injury on anybody, but yeah, I think the Dodgers would be a better team if they didn't have Austin Barnes on the roster, because then you could time up your days off for Will Smith for when, a tough righty is pitching, and you put in Hunter Fiducia, who bats left-handed, let him get those starts, the 1 or 2 a week that the backup catcher is going to get. Hunter Fiducia is a better hitter than Austin Barnes. And tonight Barnes did get a hit. Okay. Barnes is not a good hitter anymore. He was a good hitter in 2017. That's 7 years ago. He's bad. I don't know if they will pull the plug on Austin Barnes. I do think it might take an injury. And so again, I don't wish injury on anybody, but of all the people I don't wish injury on, I would be the least sad about Austin Barnes, if that makes sense. Ari says his section lit up when Barnes got his hit. We were high-fiving like an Ohtani bomb. Yeah, that's where we're at with Austin Barnes. He gets a hit and people celebrate. So, what else you guys want to talk about here? I'm just looking through the comments. $1 billion lineup, $2 bats. That was correct tonight overall. And honestly, that phrase $1 billion is another thing that I get annoyed by, because people say the Dodgers spent $1 billion this offseason. This is all they got. No, they didn't. They committed $1 billion to spend over the next 30 years, 20 years, whatever it is. The fact is the Dodgers don't even have the highest payroll in baseball. Yes, the Dodgers have a high payroll. They have a lot of great players. But I think that it gets overblown, that $1 billion number. I think that it just, I think they are still, I, at least, and I assume none of us came into the season thinking that the Dodgers were a perfect, unflawed baseball team. We knew they still had flaws, things they would have to address at the trade deadline. And for me, some cheesy inspirational speaker would say, there's no such thing as losses. There's wins and there's lessons. And it's cheesy, but it's also kind of true, because the fact is everything the Dodgers are experiencing right now is telling them more and more about what they need at the trade deadline, so they can put together the best team possible to have the best chance to win in the postseason. And whatever that is, they're learning things. They're figuring out what they need to get. And that, Kevin Biggio, like I said yesterday, was a baby step forward, because now at least it's not Kike Hernandez striking out against right-handed pitching. It's Kevin Biggio occasionally getting on base and playing good, solid defense. There's baby steps to make. There's big steps to make, but everything the Dodgers are going through is going to help them make the moves they need to make. Cameron also asks, what roster move do the Dodgers make when Max Muncy returns? Who knows? Because who knows when that's going to be. I wouldn't go so far as to change this to say if Muncy returns. I do think he will be back, but that could still be a month from now. In fact, I'd be surprised if it's less than a month from now. And so there's so much going on right now that they're going to learn in the next month that who knows. And, Muncy, depending on when he comes back, he's going to be in a case where he hasn't swung a bat in a couple months. And so how much rehab time is he going to need? All those things. So I don't know what roster move the Dodgers will make, because who knows what the roster will look like by the time Max Muncy is ready to come back. And so, the hard decisions on Chris Taylor might already be made by that time. Kike Hernandez, maybe he's not on the roster anymore. We'll see what happens, but ultimately that's still a long way away. Maybe Kershaw will be back before Max. Yeah, I do expect Kershaw back before Muncy, because Kershaw did throw a simulated game today, and they said he is well ahead of schedule, and the next likely step is probably a rehab stint. And this will be an extended rehab stint. I expect Kershaw to get probably at least 4 rehab starts would be my guess. But then, if he makes 4 rehab starts starting 5 days from now, that puts him, June 18th, June 23rd or 24th for the second one, June 29th or 30th for the third one, and then July, so he could be back around the All-Star break. Right after the All-Star break is not crazy to think Kershaw could be back. And I don't think Muncy will be back by then. So, yeah, you know what? There's good things coming, and it's hard to be too optimistic after a game like this, especially back-to-back games like this where the Dodgers didn't hit. Again, I just keep going back to the fact that we learned the hard way over the last many years that no matter how well you hit in the regular season, it doesn't mean anything in the postseason. And that applies just as much to how poorly you hit in the regular season. How you hit in June means nothing for how you will hit in October. And we saw it with Cody Bellinger in 2017. Even Corey Seager, until 2020, Corey Seager was bad in the postseason. And then he turned into awesomeness. And then Seager was bad again in 2021, his last year with the Dodgers in the postseason. Definitely not 2020 level, and not 2023 level with the Rangers. So there's no secret formula for hitting in the postseason. It's just getting hot at the right time. And the best chance to do that is to have good players. And so, like I've said many times, if we had a crystal ball and we knew for sure that if we could trade, the Dodgers would play poorly right now, and it meant they would play well in October, we would all take that trade. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. It's not that simple, but I think it is a way to help us remain optimistic, is to remember that how they're playing right now really doesn't mean much about how they will play 4 months from now. So yeah, BC says it's hard to win when you don't score. Absolutely. You gotta win. You gotta score some runs. And, maybe Tyler Glasnow, maybe they're saving up to get Glasnow some runs when he starts on Sunday. We'll see what happens, but hopefully they're going to break out. Like I said, they take on the Royals starting tomorrow, opening up a 3-game series with the Royals, weekend series, and then they head to Colorado for their first trip to Colorado this season. which I normally hate because I hate Colorado. I think the stadium's beautiful. The city's beautiful. I don't think that there should be Major League Baseball in Colorado. But if it can help the Dodgers bats wake up, I'll take it. We'll see what happens, but maybe they'll already be awake by then. Maybe we get 3 straight really good offensive games against the Royals now that I won't be doing the postcast anymore, because this is my last night on the postcast for a while. Pete will be back with you sometime soon. And with that said, I guess I'm going to wrap it up. Like I said before, Vince will be with you over on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel, hosting the podcast pretty darn soon. He's getting home from the stadium pretty soon, and so he will be getting started sometime in the next 10 or 15 minutes, I would guess. So be sure to hop over there. Be talking about Jose Hernandez, which Cameron just asked about. Vince will be talking more about that. The pitcher the Dodgers traded for today. He'll be digging into more of that and a lot of other stuff about this game and just the Dodgers in general. So that'll do it for me. Thank you for being here with me. Thanks for being my friend. I've enjoyed this, and I look forward to do it again. So we will talk to you guys when we talk to you, and be sure to check out Locked On Dodgers.